Alright, EA Ermor, turn 90. That's not something you get to say every day, so let's jump in and see what turn 90 has in store for us. Niflheim has a throne claim somewhere. I did cheat a little bit and skip down to the bottom. Niflheim did not get a victory this turn, so the game will carry on. We were bringing in our summons, which we've discussed. Oh man, yeah, here comes Russ. I forgot about Cloud Trapeze. I don't know why I forgot about Cloud Trapeze. There's like really no excuse. Oh, actually, yes, it's next to his capital. Oh, okay. He's trying to eliminate our raiders. Nice. Because I'm like, why is he bothering to Cloud Trapeze like so close to his capital? This is a waste of air gems. But it's to kill our stuff more effectively, to make sure that he has no chance of not killing our stuff. And our stuff will die. So let's take a look at this guy. Yeah, I feel like he's a new one. He's not a hero, but he does have a Shade Mail. I feel like this is, could be new Shade Mail, could be Shade Mail we've seen before. So he'll be able to stealth around and be really annoying. Russ is somewhat down to it, so I think, this Skull Cap, although it does give magic resistance, quite a bit of magic resistance, which is pretty important because, holy moly, magic resistance 25, so we're definitely not going to be able to Mind Hunt this guy. So I was thinking that this was just sort of like desperation gear, but he is actually an Astral Mage as well. So yeah, maybe not as crazy as I thought. He also has some air gems, like to summon in air elementals perhaps. Like who knows? He could do a lot of things. He doesn't need the air elementals, yeah. So he's not set to cast them. So I guess that's maybe just if things go bad, he can use them if he wants. Maybe to help with his fatigue, with Mistform, I guess. I don't know. Not sure what those air gems are for, but yeah, he's absolutely going to be able to destroy our legionaries. Their job was to take lightly defended provinces, not to deal with these freaking murderous chuds, however you call them. So, and it looks like we're going to lose another group, probably to the same thing. Ooh, 2 of them. So that's quite a bit of, so yeah, Russ still has some gems, definitely. Speaking of gems, these guys have a bunch of gems. Not much in the way of gear, though, so these guys are a lot less scary. And then, of course, the other thing we can do, of course, is like the magic duel. Oh, no, this is our Equite group. That is a bit sad. Now, our Equite have a chance at killing, like, the ungeared guys. And oh no, not all these air elementals though, probably. The bugs are not so bad for our Equite, although no poison resistance on the bless, so like that's not going to be great. But yeah, those are lesser. Oh, we're routed, so we failed a morale check. We could have won that, I feel like, maybe. But we didn't. So like there goes the those raiding groups. Let's see did we have any retreat routes? We did, but a lot of our units died. So we also lost the bishop, which is rough. Like yeah, we must have lost all the commanders. That's why we routed, I'm guessing. So that's kind of rough. On the other hand, like we weren't actually really planning on doing much more raiding with these raiders, right? Because this is where we want to leave that Niflheim territory available so that Femoria has a place that they can exercise their army. So it's bad, absolutely, but in a lot of ways, like we kind of already got what we needed out of those raiders, and we can't really hold that territory until we deal with like Russ's capital anyway. And so this is the Xibalba Femoria conflict, and it looks like Femoria has been twice warning. This was probably, well, that's a beast bat, but yeah, this was one of their Fomorian kings, and now he is a white mage, and he's been fully kitted out. This fairly expensive kit, right? The 10 gem item, 10 gem item, 10 gem item, 10 gem item. So yeah, he's going like full commitment on this guy. And yeah, I mean, I would say he's pretty scary. I mean, he's got 135 hit points, 28 protection. Like this is all good stuff. The only thing I would say is the magic resistance is pretty low, and on an undead chassis, that is pretty scary. So I think, overall, like a pretty good super combatant, but it definitely does have a fairly glaring weakness. And Xibalba might actually be able to take advantage of that because they have like some really high level deathcasters here. And I suspect that this is a battle that Femoria chose. Now the beast bats are not going to be so much of a problem. All right, I turned on team colored squares here for us. Yeah, and it looks like Xibalba got an HP route, I'm guessing. I don't think they lost any of their commanders. So that's kind of unfortunate for them. But yeah, I would say that this is a bit on the dangerous side from Femoria, and it's definitely something that we should be able to deal with because we also have quite a few death mages, although Xibalba sadly does lose like one of their cap only death mages. So just having death mages is not a guarantee, safety valve against these fellows. But back to our war, and it looks like it is just raging back and forth. And yeah, Niflheim is now starting to counter-raid us quite a bit. Well, actually, I said back to our war, but this is Russ attacking Niflheim right on. So we are going to end up fighting. Okay, but Russ only sent, just like a little like kill squad. These guys have a lot of kit though. They are going to be really annoying to kill. So I don't know. We'll see. We're bringing out our whole army. So it's like, if we can't kill these guys, we were planning on trying to kill these guys like inside Russ's like main army. So this is kind of a good thing for us, assuming we win. And so let's see. So we're bringing everything out, and we don't really have again, super combatant answers is a bit of a problem for us, although we are going to have some pretty nasty high level casters on advanced and cast spells. The other thing Wailing Winds, I don't know, the Spectres have pretty good morale. I don't think they have perfect morale. Yeah, they do not have perfect morale. So there's actually, and somehow this guy managed to fatigue himself out completely. That's interesting. Let's take a look. Quickness and Wave Warriors. Okay, so Wave Warriors is fairly fatiguing, but it's going to make everybody in this area a lot harder to kill. So we'll see. We are spending gems, right? So this is sort of an effective, I wouldn't even call this a gem bait, but it is causing us to expend gems, and we are expending a ton of gems. So, while Russ will lose a lot of gear. Okay, yeah, and there comes that Pillar of Fire. Great spell. It comes very late in evocation research, and there's a lot of reasons to not necessarily want to research evocation. So in that sense, it's not ideal. But yeah, hopefully we get some more casts like that, because you can see that our infantry, our melee units, our garbage, is not going to be able to seal the deal. So this could, and there's a shockwave. So we're definitely going to take casualties. Hopefully, come on, advance and cast spells. Yeah, we at least have a couple guys. We're starting to get some damage down, but this is starting to get a little on the scary side. Because, this guy's never going to be able to route off, so we do need to manage to get this kill. And I don't think I set anybody... Yeah, I didn't change our advance and cast spells. Oof, this is going to be an embarrassing loss. And a ton of gems to be spending, and we're going to lose a ton of chaff too, right? Because our Pillars of Fire, and that's the problem, is that at maximum range, if we had our guys on advance and cast, they would be able to actually get enough hits to get the kill in on this guy. But since this guy is just able to drain life, off of our actual troops, I'm pretty sure we're gonna turn timer. Well, it's still a ways, so we're gonna watch this one because I don't actually know what happens, and this is super important. Oh God, just nuking so much of our own stuff. Advance and cast spells, so important. And this is just really a function of this is set up for its siege defense, and I had a lot of stuff and just forgot to set them to advance and cast. I'd even discussed even in that siege scenario, there was some concern that we weren't going to be able to, in a similar way, we weren't going to be able to kill somebody, and we just happened to get lucky. We had a Sea King up here. Yeah, he's just casting slime. I guess there isn't really this guy has too much cold resistance. Frozen Heart normally would be the thing. Man, this guy is 60. How does he have 61 hit points? He's been able to drain above his. He's also enlarged. Yeah. This is super not good news. We're at least gonna give him a lot of afflictions, I guess. But yeah, we kind of needed this army. We really needed to not kill ourselves. Oh, we got lucky. A couple of Pillar of Fires must have jumped in and killed him. So that works out for us in a sense, but it is pretty painful. Well, a lot of the chaff, thankfully, that we were killing is summon chaff. But we do lose, 5 of our equite, which is rough, or, a quarter of our equite. We lose, most of the remaining long dead horsemen that we had. But yeah, it's still for what we were going up against and what we brought to the table and the gems that we spent on this, kind of an embarrassing result. Definitely going to be changing some of those fellows to advance and cast spells. It's honestly pretty lucky that we didn't fight Russ's entire force. Because I think that would have gone badly. We also had a few retreats. Yeah, our Lar freaked out for some reason and retreated. That's fine. He survived. We do find a good amount of gear, and I think most of this is not our gear. So that, in that sense, it's a good result. But yeah, scarier than it needed to be, definitely. And then we get attacked in some other mountains by Niflheim. Okay, this is in Niflheim's territory. Okay, yeah, and they're coming out from their capital. This is where our raiding group was. Oh, yeah, okay, so unfortunate. So they managed to catch, this was some of our other raiding groups that were trying to move up towards Mictlan, but they needed to move through this province in order to get there. And so, like, yeah, they just bumped into this group coming out of his capital. And I think there's pretty much no way that we win this. You know, like some bugs and like one fire elemental is not going to be enough to deal with these like regenerating, disgusting Nifl giants. Yeah, we're trying to put them to sleep with some astral casting, but I just think there's no way. And like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. We're at least dealing some damage. Flame Eruption is fairly dangerous because but these guys have enough fire resistance combined with like the really large HP pool and the regeneration. Like, yeah, so they're able to clean this up. This is a fairly major loss for us, actually. We're going to lose a lot of mages here. And I didn't really consider about the fact that like, yeah, they could move out like and block our movement because this is not a battle we were aiming to have for obvious reasons. So like that's a pretty rough loss. And they're probably moving up to, you know, relieve Mictlan. Or like, you know, they recognize that like, okay, Mictlan, it's looking, you know, in a somewhat dangerous position, and like just a bit of PD here. I think we're going to be able to take this out. Yeah, because we can snipe the leader. Yeah, and they're routed. So the Great Eagles, they're not fantastic in combat, but they're not bad either. It's not like the ideal use case for them, but we are far from ideal in this game. So we lock down Mictlan. That is a good thing, because that is at least some income that we get, and that Niflheim doesn't. And it's something they're going to have to deal with. And is this Niflheim? No, I'm pretty sure there's more province defense on Niflheim proper. So yeah, this should work out for us against just one PD. It does look like it might be a fort though. Oh wait, no, it's not a fort. Okay, so it works out for us. So we don't, you know, kill ourselves. That's good. And then we get attacked again by Russ. I mean, I knew Russ was going to be coming out swinging. I mean, of course, like he's going to split with like all kinds of like, you know, little tiny things. And like, yeah, here's some Horde of Skeleton stuff. He's got some corpse constructs as bodyguards, which is pretty cool because they're going to shock anybody that gets close. It's going to be really good against Mundane. And I don't know what this is. This is maybe the retreats from our raiding groups that got wiped out. So like, yeah, anyway, so Russ has a bunch of territory now. Again, well, okay, not a bunch of territory, but they went from like, you know, 2 or 3 provinces, which were all forts that were like under siege, to now they've like doubled their land area basically. But yeah, you know, we knew that Russ is good, so we're going to have to deal with that. And then, yeah, speaking of good, we're getting counter-raided again by Niflheim. So, yeah, remember when I was like, hey, maybe we could win, right? Had that brief, like, fever dream moment. No, that's crazy talk. This is more kind of what I was expecting. And, like, yeah, it's just a single caster here. Can make some bugs, has a little bit of body armor. And this is just, like, some retreats from something. I'm not actually sure where this is. But anyway, we lose it. And, yeah, a lot of these places, like, we're not really aiming on, like, trying to hold on to. And then, yeah, this looks like maybe it was in the south somewhere. Okay, yeah, this is where we're moving some troops up. We're sitting on top of some palisade, and you know, we're hoping to, like, in fact, I think these are the guys that are sitting on top of this palisade. So Niflheim is coming out, and he's got 3 Jarls here. So I think this is going to be a painful loss for us. They're not super kitted, but we don't really have a ton of stuff, and this is enough casters here that, like, yeah, I think it's going to be a big problem. And we really don't have much other than, like, fire elementals. Now, this guy does have some kit, but that's probably just going to be extra sad because, you know, he's probably just going to die. Because, like, fire elementals are good, but, you know, in this amount of cold and against, like, this amount of stuff, you know, Nifl Jarls have magic weapons built in by default, and there's fire resistance on the Bless. So I didn't realize there was this many Nifl Jarls down here. Maybe there weren't this many Nifl Jarls down here, and some of them moved. But it's at least good to know. This is a very expensive scouting mission, though. So, like, yeah, things are starting to turn against us a little bit now. And, you know, Niflheim doing a good job of counter-raiding now. And, like, yeah, we maybe have been committing a little too much, a little too quickly, and maybe underestimated Niflheim's position at large. Of course, you know, we are trying to use, like, we're also somewhat exhausted, so, you know, some of it is just like, well, this is what we have. And so, yeah, this is the computer raiding Niflheim. Low province defense does work out for the computer. The computer is actually, like, pretty good at raiding because they just, you know, they have a ton of resources and they attack everywhere, like, all the time as much as they can. This is an interesting raiding group. So using some Firebirds on Guard Commander and looking like probably, yeah, just going to punch out some Air Elementals. I like it. You know, you don't want to lose the the Firebirds, but like Russ has got to do a lot of stuff with very little, and they are doing exactly that. And this is going to give them a ton of gem income too, because they're taking all of these provinces. So like, yeah, we really need to deal with this Russ situation sooner rather than later. And so I don't see any way that doesn't work out for him. Yep, minimal PD. And then this is us trying to get revenge on those villains. So we just have like one Augur Elder. But he does have a jar, so he is going to be able to make a fire elemental. And assuming he doesn't get sniped by arrows, there's a lot fewer arrows going to be coming out this time. And he does do body ethereal, so fingers crossed. I don't know why he went for a lesser fire elemental. I guess he just felt his fatigue was too high, or maybe I misclicked. Of course, he has death, so he's also going to be able to make some skeletons. So let's see if he gets sniped. Probably not. Yeah, so that does work out for us. That's good. And then we have an attack against Niflheim, which is good. So yeah, we're definitely getting rolled back, pretty heavily this turn. I think I forgot to look at the province graph last turn. So if I remember, we'll take a look this turn. But it was up for us. Like, we were in a pretty good situation if you just purely looked at the province graph from last turn, although I expect there's going to be a sharp decline for this turn. So yeah, this is just some swarm raiding on top of a fort. So we brought 2 of our swarm raiders, because as we know, 1 giant, 1 swarm, that's fine. 2 giants, 1 swarm, not fine. 2 giants, 2 swarms, or actually 4 swarms, right? So we have enough nature gems, and it took long enough. So it does look like 2 swarm raiders against 1 fort PD for the giants is enough. That is a lot of gems to be spending for that result, but still, like, we locked down the fort, which is good. We do want to try to prevent as much as possible Niflheim from being able to recruit like in their heartland, and then of course, yeah, Therados is still very much involved in this game, and Niflheim is trying to roll back their rating. It looks like they chose to hang out, and they correctly predicted where Niflheim was going to go. And like, yeah, this is decent amount of stuff for casters here. So for a raiding group, like, fairly strong. Also, like, pretty heavily kitted, it looks like. Yeah, set up for like some nature and water casting, which is cool stuff. I like that. Let's see if these ladies have been kind of thugged out. Although, like, looks like they've been given. Have they both? No, one of them has a gate cleaver. So that's going to help, with their siege strength issues. And then this weapon, yeah, I don't know about this. It's different, definitely. I mean, only dealing 19 damage, and you're going to miss most of the time anyway. This is also the one I think that reloads really slowly. Oh, okay, no, because it's magic, it can fire and reload faster, and it gets 2 attacks. So okay, maybe not quite as bad as I thought, but like, I don't know, against Nifl giants, like, you're going to be missing with a lot of those arrows. Now, they're not up against Nifl giant here, so I think this is going to go just fine for them. But yeah, it doesn't really look like he's relying on those Melia thugs too much. But still, with that amount of ghosts and that amount of caster support, there's no way that a single one of Niflheim's caster is going to be able to come away with that. Then we had some unexpected events. Hey, an ancient treasure, 37 gold. Yay! That's misfortune for you. And then a tax collector got waylaid. But we don't really collect too many taxes these days anyway, and especially not from some random cave, so that's not the end of the world. There was a worldwide event. This is probably, the arena deathmatch. A few people, the computer, of course, they're always good for a submission. And it looks like Machaka decided to throw somebody in, so like, sure, why not? Just like a regular caster, no gear, not even a very powerful caster, and of course, like, the AI, well, they have no problem overcommitting to the arena, so they've got like a fully kitted out Shaitan with just sort of, he's got a bag of wine, because like, sure, why not? He wants to win the arena and be drunk while he's doing it. I'm not even sure if Shaitan can get drunk, but certainly if he's carrying around an endless bag of wine, like, yeah, probably. And then let's see, is this Niflheim? Must be. So Niflheim must not be doing too poorly. Okay, I was going to say, like, they must not be doing too badly if they feel like they have the resources to commit to the vanilla arena. But I believe this is the oldest wolf. Yeah, what's left of him? Holy moly. He is 1,460 years old, and he has just about every affliction under the sun. And he is at least blessed, though, so he has 20% regen. I don't think he has any arms whatsoever. So he's just going to be able to bite people, and I don't have super high hopes for him. That said, like, he does have like quite a bit of health and quite a bit of regeneration. So, I don't know. He's not going to be able to see the Shaitan. The Shaitan, of course, is just set to spellcast. So, yeah, I mean, maybe the Scrotty comes away with it. Just the madness of Dominions and the AI. So it looks like he's going to be able to make enough, like, phantasmal chaff that, like, the single bite is not going to be enough to work its way through. Now, that said, it's just going to come down, I think, to morale checks, right, or a turn timer, and I'm not sure who's considered the attacker. It's probably just, like, randomly assigned, I'm guessing. And, like, this guy's morale is actually, like, not that high, and his health is kind of low because somehow this guy got diseased. So it's not impossible, right, that he routs, whereas, like, the Scrotty is a berserker. Oh, or at least I thought they were berserkers. I guess maybe not, unless I'm missing the tag. But he had been enraged, so I don't know if enraged units... Yeah, his morale actually isn't that high either. So, like, yeah, this is going to take a second, so I'll probably just cut to the end, and, So it does indeed look like it's going to turn timer. The AI did throw out some incinerates, but, with the fire resistance on Niflheim's Bless, okay, it looks like Niflheim was considered the attacker. So, yeah, they are retreating, although, hey, it looks like something did kick in, so... Oh, it must be the enraged, so while you can be routed while you're enraged, it also looks like sometimes you just choose to, like, turn and attack, right? Like, yeah, so now he runs, but then he's enraged, so he moves back to attack. So it is looking like Niflheim's going to make it off, but depending on how enraged goes, right, eventually Ubar will be routed as well. So Niflheim loses a very strange arena battle. And I think the oldest wolf probably just wanted to die anyway, so, I think everybody wins there. So AI Ubar comes away with it. Let's see, they get the champion's headband. Like, yeah, I really should look up these vanilla arena items so I can provide a little analysis on them. And then sadly, we lose a scout somewhere to Shivalva. We probably bumped into a blood hunting operation. Yeah, there's at least a few blood casters in here, although they don't have the blood searching item, so yeah. Not 100% sure that this is a blood hunting operation, like maybe just some raiders, getting set to go. But yeah, anyway, we're definitely going to lose our scout there. And then we have a variety of sieges going on. Let's see, there's some fortification, right? This is just our hobbits that are sitting on top of this fort, so they are not going to be able to crack that. And then we breached one of Russ's forts. Right, this is in the north. Well, it's a wrap map, so it depends on how you look at it. But this is near Helheim, what I have been calling the south. And then, of course, we know about the Abyssia situation. And then we got a critically damaged on Mictlan, right? So our Eagle's doing a good job, and we might be able to break and storm this before those reinforcements from Niflheim arrive. So yeah, I'll catch you guys after the jump. All right. This is the situation and what we did about it. I'm recording this after the fact, so I'll endeavor to avoid spoilers. This is actually a bit of a quieter turn for us. To an extent, we've kind of exhausted a lot of our forces, and I might have been a little exhausted myself. To that end, our main army this turn, just going to throne claim. It is the Throne of Fire. That's going to be pretty useful for us in just about every aspect, except we don't really need this mage, but otherwise, all upside. This, of course, is a force that took some losses this turn, so, we're trying to recover some of those losses, bringing in, mechanical men. But this also gives us a chance to, bounce some scouts off of nearby provinces where our enemies are, maybe get a sense of exactly what we're going to be up against. Also of note, Niflheim has somehow gotten a castle down here. When I was actually playing this game, there's a couple of ways that you can magic phase forts in, so I just sort of assumed that that's what happened, but I don't think any of those spells actually provide this type of fortification, so it's possible. I think they just site searched this out, so that's a pretty lucky find for them, and really unfortunate now that they have a fortification kind of, deep in our territory. So while, I really would like to dig Niflheim out from here, probably first order of business for this army is to try to eliminate Russ, because, right, they took a bunch of provinces, they wiped out a lot of our raiders, we need to get rid of Russ. While we are doing, some raiding with our forces left, a lot of our raiders now are dead, and some of our other raiders, we're just going to hang out and, try to reinforce them a little bit. We probably could sit on top of this Nifl fort, maybe, but we definitely don't have the siege strength to break it down in any sort of timely manner. And there's some flame spirits hanging out here, which looks dangerous, and of course they can be reinforced from the capital, so kind of the problem we've had, trying to raid in this area for the whole game. In terms of Niflheim's lands, like, we are still doing a little bit of raiding. I think this is probably just, some fire elemental raiding, although we have a jar of fire, so actual fire elemental raiding. There's pretty decent confidence that this will work out, but now that this group is loose, there's definitely some concern. Like, we still have stuff on the throne here, so we should be somewhat safe from this coming in. But we do need to try to break down Mictlan as quickly as possible, because this force definitely cannot defeat all these Nifl giants. And then more in the south here, we're pulling back like just some remains, because these Jarls that came out, like, we can't really raid against that, and really we kind of just want to stuff this fort. Well, I mean, we don't actually have all that much siege defense, but even though the Nifl Jarls are pretty strong, it doesn't take that many units to hold the walls up, so we're going to bring in some infantry, and like, while we're not going to be able to beat these guys in the field, we should at least be able to hold the walls up on our fort long enough that we can get reinforcements out to it, or just make it not worth Niflheim's while. Still doing a little bit of raiding down here. I don't think they can make it here, but we'll see. Also doing just a little bit of raiding against the computer, just trying to keep them down. We're not moving out with this army this turn, which in retrospect, like, maybe should have. We're still really low on chaff for this army, but there are a lot of really powerful casters here. We are bringing in a little bit more chaff, but we're not really moving quickly enough. But yeah, we're going to need a lot of siege strength to get through, like, wall integrity 750. And this is, filled with at least some giants, quite a few if I recall correctly. So while we do want to move against Niflheim's thrones as quickly as possible, and this is a lot of mages, really powerful mages, to be kind of just sitting around not doing much, we also don't, this doesn't have a lot of siege strength. Like, what are we at? Yeah, 214. So it's a pretty good chance, even if we manage to sit on top of this fort and we're able to beat what's inside, which is also a big question mark. I don't think we'd be able to deal much damage to the walls. To that end, we are trying to storm here with just sort of a raiding group. This fort is relatively empty from what I recall. Like, yeah, this is still Russ's fort. Though there is a chance that Makone chooses to get involved, and they'll probably, they'll definitely kill our raiders if they choose to move in with all this. We are pulling our eagles out, speaking of siege strength, so this is a good amount of siege strength we can add to this other army, which we certainly will do. And there's also a decent amount of stuff that's been stacking up inside of Helheim, so, planning on combining all of this together to jump on top of this fortification. Otherwise, still kind of thinking more defensively, right? We're trying to stuff this fortification with more stuff, because this is a throne. And then in the capital, trying to work on an army that, actually can threaten Niflheim's units and commanders. So we're trying to put together some of these Bane Lords that have been kitted out, hopefully 40 damage, magic damage with the Bane Blade. A couple of these guys. We really probably need a few more. Speak of the devil, here's another Banelord being revived. So combine this with some Soulslay Communion stuff, some high-level Death Casters for some Disintegrate, and hopefully that'll be enough to actually overwhelm, a force like this, or some Nifl Jarls, because a lot of the stuff that we have running around, while it's pretty decent at raiding provinces, we can't actually win any battles against Niflheim. And then also of note, we've pretty much given up on Abyssia, but now we're basically completely giving up. We tried to keep some Eagles on top of this so that they wouldn't get a message that they're repairing the walls and know that there's almost nothing out there holding them in. But I'm pretty sure they're rebuilding the walls anyway, so we're just going to leave a Flagellant here and call it. Obviously, this isn't ideal, but we just don't really have the resources to deal with all these Vanheers. So yeah, I think that covers the majority of what we're up to. In a lot of ways, we're just kind of waiting for Fomoriya to get more active in this war. Obviously, we're still fighting. We're going to be fighting Niflheim for the rest of the game, and hopefully we can eliminate Russ, because Russ is just so close to a lot of our core territory. We have a throne and a fort in their cap circle. There's just no way, right? Peace with Russ is never a thing that's going to happen in this game. So we need to eliminate Russ, and we need to try to deny thrones to Niflheim, and then just try to build up as much as possible. In terms of what else we see, a little bit, we can see this throne is being sieged by the computer, which is kind of irrelevant. Theridos does seem to be making decent inroads in this location, right? We can see that, they have this coastal province, and potentially they're actually somewhat connected, though this is probably Ubar. So yeah, I'm not sure how connected all this raiding is, but possibly aiming to, grab this throne fortification. On the other hand, right, like there's still an underwater fort that Therados doesn't hold, which they're sieging at least, but is uncracked. So in a lot of ways, they kind of need to get their own house in order, before they can really like move inland a lot. And then, Xibalba seems fairly committed, right? Here's a cracked throne fortification of Femoria, so it's looking like Xibalba's chosen to just fight Femoria, which is not what I would prefer that they do, but they're playing their own game with their own concerns, so can't really effectively judge it, but certainly it would have been nice to have them jump in against Niflheim as well. Of course, it does look like Therados is making some inroads up here, but then again, like mainly, I think this is just a mercenary group. This also seems unlikely to fall, so, they may just, not want to get involved with Therados, and, trying to jump in over here is probably going to mean bumping with Therados, and it's always annoying to have to fight an underwater power. But they have chosen, a pretty dangerous opponent here, somewhat slow moving it seems like, but considering that this stack isn't all that far away from them, and like Xibalba was threatening a throne fortification, I think Femoria is probably going to get drawn fairly heavily into this conflict, which is bad news for us, because that means that they're going to be fighting Niflheim a lot less. So yeah, I think that more or less covers turn 90. I promised a province graph, so here we are. We are actually down in provinces this turn, but not as bad as I thought it would be. Overall, just in terms of raw provinces, this war has actually been pretty good for us. We have been fighting some distracted opponents, and of course, this doesn't really show how important these provinces are. So we can take a look at our gem income. I imagine, overall that's still gone pretty well for us. Gem income tends to track fairly reliably with provinces, though you can see that at least a couple of the provinces that we lost this turn were outsized in terms of their gem production. So it is always important to remember that not all provinces are created equal, and of course ascension points, well, we can see Niflheim has been making a dangerous climb there, and while we have actually increased a bit and are going to be making another claim this turn, we're still well behind.